I never thought life could be so cruel, and all of my life's work would be staring back at me at the face, just laughing. I need your help. To be honest, I've never felt this helpless, and I don't know what to do anymore and how to survive this. I should tell you from the beginning so you can understand why I feel choked by life. You see, I have had a very simple childhood. My parents both worked hard to provide for me and ensure that I received a good education. They died not too long after I had my first child, though. My mother died of old age first, followed by my father. I knew when I was young that I wanted a better life for my children, where money was never an issue, so that's how I met Jack. We first met at our local gym, and he had the best body and the cutest face I could imagine. I believe I am attractive as well, though. We were both young when we fell in love. Jack was a perfect gentleman, well-mannered, caring, and most importantly, a true family man. The most beautiful thing about Jack that I noticed right away was not his appearance or his wealth, no, but how hardwired he was for family. But I'd always wanted a husband with a solid financial foundation as well. It's not about being a gold digger, but about providing a secure future for myself and our children. After all, I'd always intended to be the best wife in the world. On our few first dates, I derived that Jack comes from money and the way he dressed, the car he drives, and the restaurants we went to. I was almost sure about him, and when I met his parents, my doubts vanished because they were equally proud of how Jack was so respectful towards him. I knew I wanted to marry this man. They were the sweetest and humblest people I'd ever met. I instantly understood where Jack got his selflessness from. Jack is the perfect package. Handsome, rich, and had the most beautiful heart ever. So, when he proposed, I could not believe it was months on how I'm getting a husband like this. Jack and I had built a beautiful life together in Los Angeles, filled with love, laughter, and 2 amazing children. We had a boy named Ethan and a girl named Emily. Our kids were our pride, and the reason for our happiness. Our marriage had weathered many storms in the last 25 years, but we'd always found a way to come out stronger. We were a team. Jack and Linda, and nothing could break us. I was most happy with how my life turned out to be. Both children were teenagers, and even after so many years of togetherness, the spark in our marriage was still alive. My parents would be smiling down on me, seeing me living my dream life, but it was too damn good to be true. Fate had other plans. It was a regular afternoon when I got a call from my husband. He'd been out on a business trip for the past 15 days, and I was desperately waiting for him to come back. So, every 2 to 3 months, he goes to some beach house for a business meeting with his partners. Jack says the location doesn't have connectivity, and it's best for them to just leave the distractions aside and concentrate fully on work. But these days are the hardest for me because I don't get to have any words around Jack. So, today when he called, I knew he was coming back and jumped to pick up the phone like an 18-year-old. As I picked it up, I could sense something was horribly wrong because this was not Jack's voice. The voice on the other end was shaky, filled with disbelief. It was Jack's business friend, Mike.
Linda. I don't know how to say this. Jack. He's gone. Yeah, he was in a car accident, I'm sorry.
The words hit me like a train, making the air hard to pass out of my lungs. It couldn't be true. Jack, my rock, my partner, was gone in an instant? I collapsed to the floor, tears streaming down my face, unable to feel the magnitude of the loss. I called Jack's phone again and again and again, and went to the hospital where he was taken by ambulance. The moment I saw the lifeless body of my husband is an image that still haunts me at night. His body was badly beaten up, his car hit by a truck because of overspeeding, and Jack died on the spot along with its driver. Jack had this driver for as long as I can remember, and now both are gone. Mike was waiting outside the room with his eyes swollen, but I could not find anybody else. I asked Mike if any other friends were hurt. Jack had 5 business partners and nobody was around. Mike told me everybody was safe and hugged me in condolence. I cannot think about this right now, I just can't. What'll I do? What do people do when the sudden love of their life vanishes into thin air like smoke? Children, my children, I have to tell them that their father's gone? My children's love for their grandparents, and so I made less difficult chores here for myself. I called my in-laws and informed them about the horrific incident, hoping that they could help me break the news to my kids, and I could hear the heartbreak over the phone. They texted me within the next 15 minutes that they were on their way to my house. Mike also helped me with legal implications of releasing the body of a victim who died in an accident. We got home the next morning and a few police officers came by to ask for some basic details about his roots and the purpose of the visit. The answer I gave them did not help their investigation, though. They looked at each other confused and left. As we had a funeral arrangement at our home, it did not feel like a good time to open up wounds. Days turned into a blur as friends and family rallied around me, offering their condolences and support, but their words of comfort fell on deaf ears. I was lost in a sea of grief, unable to make sense of the world without Jack by my side, but the reminder of it's just been for 5 days came from the police. They were back to drop off some of Jack's belongings as they closed the case as an overspeeding accident, and that's when they said that Jack was just coming from a nearby town, Solvang. Well, I could not understand any of it. Do we have no one in Solvang? And Jack and his buddies used to go to the Long Beach area, to one of the friends' beach houses and discuss business and peace. What was he doing in Solvang? I had absolutely no energy left in me to entertain anybody. Both my kids have been a mess as reality slowly seeped in. I had to be strong for our children, merely 14 and 16 years of age, and they lost their father. They were barely surviving with their own immense pain. They missed their dad, his laughter, his guidance. Without Jack's steady hand to guide us, life has become difficult by the second, so I asked my in-laws to stay with us until we figured out a new norm. Update number 1. Hey guys, so it'll be soon a month since Jack's death. The pain and sorrow of losing him is unbearable, and it felt as if a piece of myself had been ripped away, leaving an empty void inside my heart. My in-laws came to offer their condolences in the days following his death, and I had asked them to stay with us, as nobody was prepared to be alone yet. Their presence was initially comforting, as it reminded me that family and I married into was good. However, I soon began to notice subtle changes in their behavior as well as a wave of secrecy that made me very, very uneasy. The family business was once established by Jack's father, but was soon taken over by him. And he expanded it into various different cities. That is one of the sole reasons for his frequent travels. I needed his help to keep the business running. One night, I decided to go talk up front about the business and heir to my father-in-law. I mean, Ethan was 16, and now that Jack's not around, I have to buckle up and take charge, but I overheard something very disturbing. Both my in-laws were discussing some family secrets. Well, I heard them trying to find a way to break the news to me. I was not ready for any more information that would disrupt my kids' life. They were already going through a lot at their age. But now that I know there's something that they want to tell me, I frequently notice that their weird behavior of whispering when I'm not around, and there's an unspoken tension in the house. I could no longer bear it. I had to find out what was going on, and I was mainly worried that they would not let the business go to the hands of their grandkids. They also loved them. I don't know, my mind was going crazy imagining the worst case scenario possible. Maybe the reality was not that bad and I was just making it worse than it was, so I decided to confront them face front whenever kids were not around. Not much time has passed and we were still in mourning, but I found a way to talk to my mother-in-law first. I confronted her with a very straightforward question. Is there anything that you need to tell me? Her initial reaction was a mix of surprise and apprehension, as if she had been caught red-handed in the cookie jar. With a heavy sigh, she revealed the truth, that Jack had kept a secret hidden from me all these years. He had been adopted. Well, the realization struck me like a bolt of lightning. How could Jack be hiding such an important aspect of his life from me? I thought we discussed everything. I was overwhelmed with feelings of betrayal. Why? What could be Jack for not telling me this? Why? He knew I loved him with all my heart. It just made no sense, and I received no answers. I decided to confront my father-in-law, expecting a decent reason for their silence for so long, but he just looked at me with regret and sadness in his eyes, bluntly saying that they made a deal with Jack to keep his adoption a secret. According to them, Jack never wanted me to find out because he loved his parents just like any other child, and thought this might just open up his wounds. They thought it was for the best, that it would preserve our happiness and keep our relationship from splitting. But in the face of the truth, their intentions were meaningless. I could not understand how my own husband, with whom I shared my entire life with, had never trusted me enough to confide in me. It felt like a dagger to the heart, a betrayal like no other. I started questioning everything related to Jack, even the very question of why he was in Solvang, and not where he had told me for years he was going to be. My emotions were all over the place. I could not bring myself to confront my in-laws, knowing that they had willingly helped Jack keep his secret from me. I saw it as a deception that had shattered my trust and fractured our family every time I looked at them. I wanted them gone. I needed space, and my head was spinning from all the things Jack might have hidden from me. All that mattered to me was my kids, and why did Jack's parents tell me this fact now, out of time? Were they trying to lay off a base for what was coming next? In the next few days, the children became quiet too. They could sense that their mother was depressed, and the reason was their grandparents. I knew I could not let them know the real reason behind it, though. I did not want to hamper their bond with them, so I gathered my courage and asked my in-laws to move back to their place. Nobody reacted. I guess they saw it coming. When they were leaving, my father-in-law asked me to keep my strength up and meet him soon to discuss the kids' future. I gave him a satisfying nod, but the look on his face dreaded me. What is there to discuss? They loved my children, and even if Jack was adopted, they did not have any other biological children, so it automatically goes to my children, right? What'll I do if they take my behavior the wrong way? Asking them to go and my hatred for the part that they played in keeping Jack's adoption a secret from me, could it make things worse? Well, we damaged our relationship for life. I felt like it. Update number 2. Hey guys, my husband was killed in a car accident just a few months ago. I discovered that my husband had been adopted and that the company was still run by my father-in-law, so they now have control over what happens to my child's future. I reacted foolishly because I was unprepared to deal with the magnitude of the loss. I basically asked my in-laws to leave my house so that we could grieve. But I forgot that they also had lost a son, and for that I hate myself. Have you ever felt so lost in life that you want to flee, but you can't because your children rely on you and there are still so many milestones to see? Because that's exactly how I've been feeling. It's difficult to tell the difference between reality and life. I'm lucky enough to get sleep. I dream of the days when Jack was around, and when I wake up, I know now I won't be able to sleep easily. I wish I had my parents with me. They were not rich or not even highly educated, but they loved me deeply, and they are the only ones who can make me, well, feel better and take me out of this deep pit. An empty mind in this devil's home. This sentence is as true as it gets for me. I did not have anything to look forward to at all. So, Whenever I had some peace, my mind went back to the day of Jack's funeral when the police informed me about Jack being on the Solvang route. I contacted Mike and delved deeper into it. The story. It only took me one day, 24 hours to find out another life-altering truth about Jack. And oh boy, this one struck me like a lightning bolt. Jack had been leading a double life. As Mike was Jack's childhood friend, he knew everything. That day, he came home ready to reveal all the facts, and he knew if I were to ask about Solvang, I would not be very far away from finding out about, quote, Jack's other family.
What is happening?
The beach house that he claimed to frequently visit for business was not just a simple business getaway. It was a facade that hid a web of secrets and hidden identities. Well, my heart shattered once again when I found out the truth. Jack had been living with this secret life, concealing it behind the guise of business trips. How could that man, the man that I had loved and trusted for oh so many years, cheat? Who are you, Jack? I felt like a fool, unaware of the intricate web of deceit that had been woven right underneath my nose. I began to piece together the fragments of his hidden life. The mysterious calls that he would take in private, the unexplained absences, and the lies that he would weave so effortlessly. It all starts to make sense now. Solvang was not just a charming town. It was a place where he was living a parallel life, away from the prying eyes of his family, our family. I feared the answers to the question I was about to ask Mike, and I quote, "Was this just a passing affair, or was he in love?" Mike just kept looking down at the floor like he was trying to search for the right words hidden somewhere in the tiles. Rather, his silence was saying so many things without him talking. So, I asked a different question this time. Do they have kids? Mike nodded. Suddenly, the lights in the room formed a shadow and the furniture was rotating like I was on a swing. My eyes got heavy and Mike was gone. I woke up after half an hour with Mike and both Emily and Ethan standing on my head with a worried look. I quickly realized I fainted. It must have been because of keeping myself hungry and dehydrated all the time. At the moment when I was trying to get up from the floor, I fainted. I realized I was lighter than before. I lost so much weight in just a month. I saw both my children crying and hugging me, and oh God, this must be so scary for them to lose their father physically forever, and now to lose their mother mentally. I had to start living for them and get my act together. I hugged them just to make them feel safe, and they crumbled in my arms like soft paper. After Jack passed away, we never mourned, all three of us. I cannot let them lose their mother, too. This is not the time. Of course, the truth left me heartbroken, and I could not digest how someone I had shared my life with these dark secrets, and played with our emotions for over 2 decades. It felt like the betrayal will never let me have peaceful sleep, and my wound seemed impossible to heal, but despite the pain and confusion, there was a concern that bothered me more than my husband's infidelity. What will happen to my children's future and inheritance? The news that Jack had been adopted worried me about who would be the legal heir, and I have 2 children who are about to start their college journey. So what's next? I will never allow anyone to claim what rightfully belongs to my children. The fear of losing my children's rightful inheritance filled me with so much anxiety and desperation. I knew I had to set aside my ego and seek assistance from my in-laws, despite the strained relationship that had developed between us. They had been complicit in keeping Jack's adoption a secret, but they were completely unaware of Jack's secret family, and I knew I needed someone's strength by my side if I had to survive this. With a heavy heart and a little hope, I reached out to my in-laws asking them to meet. I knew it would be a difficult conversation filled with shocking revelations and a sense of betrayal, but my children's future was at stake and I could do anything for them. Jack's hideous truth and the feeling that I had zero ideas how my husband was is just so heavy to digest. I know for sure that I'm cursed to always be alone for life, but my maternal instinct kicked in even harder. I have and always will keep my children's life ahead of mine. Soon as I sat face to face with my in-laws, I was completely thrown aback by the love that they showed me. For them, nothing had changed. The fact that I tried them with disrespect and asked them to leave did not matter. They both were so warm and told me to forget everything that happened, as it was the hardest time of my life and they possibly cannot hold a grudge against me for that. And I quote you this: "Jack was adopted. It was not our secret to tell unless he was breathing. But we knew we had to tell you once Jack left this world. But Linda, for us, nothing changes. Jack was our only son, and you are our daughter. Whatever I have, we have, is only for my grandkids." Well, that's the words my father-in-law said to me. Update number 3. I loved my children more than anything in my life. All that I've achieved and survived is for my kids only. I fell in love with Jack and had a very good run, until he died in a car crash that turned my world upside down, and I found out that my husband, the heir to one of the richest families in the state, was adopted. But that was not all. He had a double life. He has a wife and kids not far away, 3 hours away from where I lived my dream life. I believe nobody's prepared for a drastic change in your life. What would you all have done? That's the question I ask you. I sought help from only the ones that could save my kids' future, my in-laws. The last time I visited their home, I cried my heart out and told them everything that Mike told me about Jack's affair. They displayed a level of empathy that I had not expected. They too were deeply affected by Jack's double life and were concerned about the well-being of their grandchildren. At that moment, we found a common ground, a shared desire to protect and secure the future for the ones that we loved. Putting aside our differences, we embarked on a journey of legal consultations and estate planning. I was truly lucky to have found comfort in them, and they stood strong by my side. My father-in-law extracted each and every piece of information about his second wife. Her name was Rachel. Of course, they're not legally married, but she has a biological child with Jack. So that definitely complicates our situation a bit. But I had the upper hand and support of my in-laws. It was an emotionally draining process with complexities. When Rachel found out about Jack, she tried to swoop in on it by just blaming Jack that he had kept the first marriage a secret and now she deserves half of his inheritance because of the betrayal. She had a child who she had to support, you know. So, I do sympathize with her because just a few months back I was in her shoes. But the situation Rachel was in, it did have consequences of her bad choice and not bad destiny like me. Thanks to Mike, the implications did not last long. Mike was Jack's friend, but we did have an important bond too, and he too had betrayed me when he had helped Jack help this secret life out. So this was his gesture for redemption. He testified on our behalf that Rachel was aware of the reality throughout the affair. We gathered all the proof we can to prove that Mike's testimony was right. All the details and information was just opening up wounds directly to my heart. I realized there was so much happening around me, but I never doubted Jack at all because I loved him enough to never even imagine him doing something like this. Through it all, a sense of unity emerged between all of us. A realization that despite the secrets and the broken trust, we were all bound by a shared love for our children. I survived every difficult conversation with tears of pain in my eyes, but we navigated all the steps of the legal system to ensure that my children's inheritance would be safe and that their future would be secure. It was the hardest earned victory of my life, and through it all was a constant reminder of the painful truth of Jack's hidden life. In the end, we won the legal proceedings, and a fragile truce was settled between us. My wounds of the past would take time to heal, and the scars would forever remind me of the shattered trust, of the man I loved and how he turned out to be something entirely different. But during the turmoil, a newfound understanding emerged between me, my in-laws, and my 2 beautiful children who have a very hopeful life ahead of them. Though the pain of Jack's betrayal would always linger, I realized that in seeking help from my in-laws, I had taken a step towards ensuring a stable future for my children. Rachel, well, she was left with nothing as she willingly had an affair with Jack, knowing I and my children exist. Jack was no more, but I hope that wherever he is, this is a hard karma lesson for him. He's destroyed the life of Rachel and his child. I mean, I don't hate Jack. How can I hate the person who I've loved for half of my life? But I certainly cannot forgive the men who deliberately chose to live a vulgar life, now can I? Sometimes I still wonder if Jack had not been in the accident, would he ever tell me about Rachel? Or maybe he would just silently write his will and divide the inheritance between Emily, Ethan, and his other child. I never met Rachel. We made sure that I never crossed paths with her or the kid. I don't even know how she looks, nor do I plan to ever find out. My life was always about Jack and my children. Now, Jack has served the hard path through karma. I'm going to live my life with dignity. I teach my kids to never disrespect their father. After all, he has provided them with all that we have, and he loved them dearly. It was a humbling lesson in setting aside personal grievances and prioritizing the ones we love. Even with heartache and shattered trust, I remembered him with love. I will survive my life and serve my purpose. Whatever happened to me for the past few months only made me better and stronger as a person. Above all, it made me realize the importance of having your loved ones around.